hello and welcome to the weekly Mix and Mash, brought to you by the Midweek Mash Tattie Sportscast. I'm your host Harvey, the Mini Gladiator 2000. With me as always is Michael, Super Ninja Alan, and Paul, El Grande Hexagon de Oro.
Si señor, arriba.
Yo!
That's
a lucha name.
Oh, love it.
That's a lucha names, lads.
Oh, yes.
Paul's is probably the only one that sounds like a lucha.
I know. I think you're supposed to say him in Spanish, but I'm like, nah. I can hardly say Paul's in Spanish, but...
Hey, what would Super Ninja be in Spanish? Jeez, let's get a live translation.
But why?
How do you say Super Ninja in Spanish?
In Spanish, Super Ninja is Super Ninja.
Nah.
Sarah's taking the piss, man.
No having it. No having it.
Super Ninja with a Spanish accent.
That is a lie. Oh, good.
Oh, Christ.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, it's just in. Sarah's racist.
Oh, man. Oh, good. Oh, how are you doing today, boys? Good.
All the better now.
Living the dream, my man. Living the dream.
Said he's made your day, eh? Oh, good.
Super Ninja.
Super Ninja. Oh, good. Alright. Right, so, without further ado, let's mix it up. So today, we're going to start off on the old football. The thousands balls, as some folk would say. So, have you seen that Sean Maloney got sacked the other day?
Oh?
He does indeed, aye.
What did they? What did they know, they?
I mean, look, he's come in a bad situation as it is. They've sold their best player, their number one goal scorer. He's obviously trying to implement his own style, and I guess they thought it wasn't working. Out of 19 games, he won 6, he drew 6, and he lost 7. So that's like a 33% win rate.
So, obviously, he was manager of Hibernian, who
Hibernian.
lost against Hearts last week in the Scottish Cup final. They also lost against Hearts in the league as well, which pushed them into the bottom half.
That's the nail in the coffin then.
Aye. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. Like, in one hand, it's like, well, he wasn't performing the greatest as a manager. However, he's just come in the door. Should be given time at least.
The season's not even finished.
He's not even had time to properly implement his style of playing. You could see, like, in certain games, you could see what they were trying to do. They just, like, sometimes there's obviously the results when they're there. They just want to come in. They were unlucky a few times. I think ultimately why they sacked him is because they lost to Hearts twice in a row. One in the Scottish Cup semi-final, and then in the league. In the league, I think they beat him 4-1 or something like that.
3-1 it was, aye.
3-1. And then they lost 2-1 at Hampden, back to back. So I think that's the board's the board. Again, they sacked Jack Ross because they were on a poor run of form, but yet he had got them to a final, a cup final. They sacked him before the cup final, so I just don't know what they're playing at, to be honest.
I think that's what it goes back to, Harvey, is the direction of what the board want. Like, the board want to change things, and they want to bring in a new forward-thinking manager who focuses on playing the game the right way, which is obviously Sean Maloney, after retiring, worked with the Belgian national team, who are one of the best in the world, Mick, working under Roberto Martinez. So it's a strange decision that after only one transfer window, and absolutely, I mean, the season is a massive failure for Hibs, being a bottom half team and not having any not being in any cup competition final or winning anything. So it's, I mean, I feel that he's kind of objectives, but why has he not been given time? If they're going to make the very big decision of sacking a manager just before a cup final and replace them with somebody new, surely you've got to follow it through with at least 2 transfer windows and allow him to build his own team. Like,
well, that's the thing. He's came in during that. Like, he didn't have any time to actually bring in players that he wanted.
He's largely working with the squad he had before, aye.
So, 1 or 2 players that he knows will work in his system comes in, could completely change that squad. Like, you never know. I don't like it. Roy Keane said he wants the job.
It would be fun if nothing else.
Aye.
Wait, he wants the Hibs job?
He wants the
Aye,
Hibs
he
job,
wants
aye.
the Hibs job, aye.
Aye, Roy Keane. He's up for it.
I think Roy Keane is just. God, I was going to say Roy Keane is keen. I think, he is keen to get back into management.
He would.
The way it looks like, because there's a few teams that have sacked their managers, and his name's been thrown out, and he's actually said like, I would like to go there, you know.
Well,
So
I mean, Sunderland, he was heavily rumoured to be going to until they went with. Who is it they went into Sunderland? I don't even remember. But it was after Lee Johnson gets sacked. They were heavily kind of hinting towards and trying to work towards Roy Keane being the manager, but obviously didn't he? I don't know if Roy Keane works in today's world as a manager. I don't think largely he's ever worked as a manager, really. He had one good season with Sunderland and dined upon it for at least the next 6 seasons, basically. Like, spent a lot of money.
He's maybe better as a coach than he is a manager, because he's no a politician.
I think he's better as a pundit, mate.
That's the problem. He's a pundit. Like, he's just straight up. That's the problem. And honestly, today's football players, well, a lot of sports actually, are getting to this, like, to prima donnas, like, you know.
Oh, I'll come to that. Don't you worry. I'll come to that soon.
Like, do you know, like, they can't take you were shit in the first half, you need to do better. You can't attack me like that, like you know what I mean? Like, nah, he's too straight up for them. Like, he'll just be ruthless to them. Alex Neil, that's who it was, wasn't it?
That's right, Harvey.
Sorry, it just came into my head.
Yeah, he's taking over.
I don't think many players would take to him. I think that's why Jose Mourinho as well is over the past few years his stock has been going down. I think that's one of the reasons, because footballers these days you have to deal with them in a different way. You
definitely do. I mean, to speak in the Jose Mourinho kind of thing with Man United, may I just jump into the old...
Yeah, you could... Yes, and let's jump into Paul's quack of the week.
Because by God, if I got some thoughts on a certain player who has crossed paths with Jose Mourinho recently. Jose Mourinho, I believe is the correct pronunciation, sorry. So, this week, lads, as we're talking of prima donnas, and this man is a prima donna. He really is, for me. Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba, a man brought to Manchester United for a then £105 million world record transfer fee, lads. He's a World Cup winner, and in fact was the captain of the under-20s World Cup winning team for France. However, this is a man that Sir Alex Ferguson had allowed to leave for almost nothing. He was seen as the man who was going to bring Manchester United back up to the top of world football, an all-action, box-to-box midfielder. But you know what though, lads? He has been an utter fucking waste of time from start to finish in a Manchester United jersey, lads. Attitude, performance level, social media crap, body language, paper thin skin, Harvey, which is what you were talking about. Paper thin skin when it comes to criticism. Well-timed thigh strains. Every time there's an important game that they are probably going to struggle in, up there goes the thigh and off goes Pogba. This happened again during Man United's game with Liverpool where they got beat 4-0 at Anfield. Pogba off in 10 minutes, thigh strain. Ralph Rangnick had claimed that was probably Paul Pogba's final game in a Manchester United shirt. Good riddance to this boy. I honestly, I can't take it. There's no many footballers I really dislike, but I really dislike Paul Pogba and the entitlement to him and the attitude of him. He is everything that is wrong with a modern footballer. No effort, expects it all to come to him.
Aye, but when he plays with France, I don't think I've ever seen Paul Pogba put in a bad performance with France.
Why is that though? Because it's all gone his way.
I don't. That's what I'm saying.
Fair weather player.
You know.
Because he's surrounded by some of the best in the world. He looks much better. But see, when it's on him to be the man, he's useless. He's hidden. He's gone. He couldn't have got off any quicker against Liverpool because he knew it was going to be a horrible night of chasing the ball. He's a rat.
Yep.
He's an absolute rat. That's me. Sorry. Sorry. It's a negative rant of the week this week, lads.
I just wanted. So, did you see McTominay's interview after the game there at Arsenal?
No, what did he say?
Aye, it's he's very emotional in it. Alright, I've got a wee transcript of it here. I'll just read it. Goals change games of football. We didn't put the ball in the back of the net. They did. We dominated the first 20-25 minutes of the second half. They go down the other end of the pitch and score. That's how it's going at the minute. There are a whole lot of problems in terms of players, staff, everything higher up. I think he's on to say there's a lot of things going on at the minute. This is where he starts to look emotional.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. For us, when we get back into the dressing room, it's about going home and taking a look at ourselves in the mirrors. You can't go home and be satisfied at conceding 3 goals away to Arsenal whenever we deserve to win a game. That's not the way that football works. For us, self-belief, lack of confidence, you can see you can see it all in the last 2 months. We had a half decent game today, but even then, it's the belief, which is so big in football, that's just not here at the minute. There's obviously it's difficult for me when you're playing the midfielders. You are so lost in the game. I wouldn't say he's looking at next season in terms of how we can improve and what we can do, the players we can bring in and how much they can add for the group. For myself, it's a bit of balls in your performance, man. That's what it comes down to, and fundamentals of football. It's difficult for me to speak because you're so high in emotions in the last 2 months, but it comes down to the basics and we never do them well enough in big games recently. So, sorry, they asked what McTominay thought that Ten Hag would have thought watching that match, and that was his response.
He's got a hell of a job on him, Ten Hag, coming into Manchester United.
Well, when you think about what he's just said there, and he's saying we've got problems for players, coaching staff, and higher up. Well,
I mean, you've got the technical director on the touchline trying to give out instructions. The technical director is not the manager. What's with Darren Fletcher? What's he doing? That cannot be his job. So what the fuck is going on?
I don't know.
For real?
Nobody knows what's going on. He obviously doesn't get what's going on. But look at that. See, as if you're on the board and you see McTominay saying stuff like that, are you going to then, if his contract's coming up soon, are you going to be like, nah, he's sitting here talking shit about us, or we got to give him a new contract? No.
Although you're talking about boardroom as if it's normal people. Look at Phil Jones, who's sitting in the stands laughing and hasn't played for 2 years yet. He gets renewal up. There's no many decisions from higher up in Manchester United that I've seen as somebody of a sound body and mind making.
Sound
Like,
mind.
it's just ridiculous.
Well, saying that, did you see what Van Gaal, the comments Van Gaal had said?
Right?
To Ten Hag, I think it was like a Dutch newspaper or something that he did an interview for, and he said Ten Hag would better off not taking that job.
I don't disagree.
He said because the board they're not thinking about the owners and that they look at it as a business. They're not there like to get performance on the pitch. They just want money.
It's like the Arsenal issue, who are also owned by Americans.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're doing quite well, they're making lots of money.
They're making money,
Like,
and that's...
It's about their brand. They're thinking about it in an NFL franchise sort of way. Like the amount of American NFL teams that just they coast along, but they're huge institutions, so they're going to keep making money and money and money, regardless of what you're seeing, performance-wise.
Yep.
Manchester United seem to be falling into that trap the way Arsenal have, where there wasn't much investment done for years, and it was fine because they were fourth every year or they were third, so they were getting into the Champions League, so they always fed the idea that the ownership didn't need to do much. Manchester United are now really in danger of becoming like Arsenal. Like, they're not going to get back in for years. Arsenal are only now, after 3 or 4 seasons of utter shite, recovering now.
Yeah. And that, well, guess what? That's because obviously the boardroom have started getting it right as well, but they've brought in Mikel Arteta. And they've stuck with him, even though at first his teams weren't doing great, but they've stuck with him because they could see that, his philosophy is this, and he wants to get the team here, and in order to do that, well, we need to do this, this, and this. So they're going through all the proper steps to get them to where they want to be.
They're backing the manager. They're making the manager the most important. I mean, look at in January, Harvey. I mean, they released Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Barca. Their highest paid player, for nothing.
I mean, it's not a bad move for Aubameyang, though.
Well, to him, fine, eh?
Scoring goals for Barca, but, I mean, obviously, I think Arteta was saying that he wasn't the best in the changing room,
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like a direct comparison to Man United with Pogba. When Mourinho, I mean, there was a clear fallout with Mourinho and Pogba, and Mourinho has said it needs to be me and him, and they've said, right, well, player then. And look at the damage it's done to them.
Player,
Aye.
Right. It's terrible. The funny thing is, Pogba won't sign a contract at Man U this year.
No.
He'll go somewhere else, and he'll be the best fucking player in the world. That would be typical. I would be like him. If he gets a manager that can deal with his shit, it'll just be... that'll infuriate the Manchester United fans so much.
I would imagine it's PSG he'll go to, and he'll just sink further. I don't think he's a good player anymore, Pogba. I think he's a French Dele Alli. I think he's in
French
massively on the decline. Aye. Just Dele Alli with a French accent and a stripy top. That's it for me, mate.
Well, we'll see. We'll see after this season.
I've been wrong many a time. I'm sure I'll be wrong again.
He has been heavily linked with Real Madrid too.
I mean, profile-wise, he's
on the cusp of... Yeah?
He's a big signing though, isn't he? Like, name-wise.
I mean, they're looking to maybe sack Ancelotti at the end of the season.
That's right,
so they've not been performing the way that the president feels that they should. Ancelotti's just been pretty much choosing the same team every week and not getting the tactics right. When teams are outplaying them or even beating them, he just sticks to his guns and he doesn't change anything. No, they're not happy with that. Plus the 4-0 defeat at Barca didn't help either.
No, definitely not.
But on the plus side, the vote is in, and Scotland will have VAR next season. They're hoping to have it in place in December.
That's right, aye. Mid-season, for whatever funny reason.
Yep.
Only team that voted against
Yep.
it was Greenock Morton, I believe.
Yeah, Greenock Morton, aye.
Versus the rest of Scotland.
Aye. They said it was for the fees, which I don't
saw a
see.
statement for them that said that they felt like the money could be better spent elsewhere in Scottish football rather than on VAR.
I mean,
well-
no wrong in a lot of ways.
Well, aye, but it's not the SFA that's paying for it, so
Aye, very true. It's the clubs, of course.
it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, and they said the fees and diminishing fan experience. So they think that by bringing VAR in, it's going to diminish the fan experience. So
In what sense?
I don't know. Obviously, you've got some fans that complain about it because it slows down the game or whatever. I don't know. And then they're talking about the fees for it. They're not paying for it. I don't see them getting.
They're not going to be paying for it anytime soon. There's no way they're paying for it. They're all right.
I mean, our growth might be in the
Premier League. Aye.
the Premier League, Scottish Premier League next year, if all goes well for them. Obviously, they're in the playoffs and that. I did see a statement from them saying that if they do get in, they will remain a part-time club.
That's wild, isn't it?
It's wild, but it actually makes sense. Obviously, all the players are part-time. Now, they go full-time. The players then have a decision. Do I quit my job and play full-time, or I need to find another club? If they quit and go full-time, what happens now if a Bros get relegated straight away
One season,
and
aye.
go back to part-time? Now they need to find another job.
I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense.
So it does make sense until they're sure that they can go full time. Maybe a couple
Flip
of
side
seasons.
of that argument, though, is that they might deprive their squad of the opportunity of living out a dream as being a full-time pro footballer. If they do get back down straight away,
But
then
here's
a whack of them might not get that opportunity again.
you're right. That's true, but
I would wager a whack of them are never going to get this opportunity again anyway, lads. I mean, if you ever looked at the squad and the age of the squad, it makes no sense
no sense. Aye,
how well they've done this year. It makes utterly no sense.
experience all boy.
It literally is. I mean, it's experience.
Experienced
completely.
players with the young legs to do the running. You go tackle him.
Aye, but when you say young
Go back.
legs, their youngest player in the
27.
midfield's 29.
Oh, was it 29? I thought it was like 27 or so.
It's wild, man. Honestly.
Aye. And then the other thing is as well, with all that, is the coaches. If you go full time, you have to get full time coaches. You have to get a whole whack of different staff members in, and then to go straight back down, like let off a lot of them. So I do understand.
Couldn't be an easy decision.
No. I understand why they said that, but if they have the financial means, that's what I'm saying. If they get up and then they stay in for a few years and then they have the financial ability
Then fair
to go
enough then.
pro,
Aye.
full-time professional, then but it's going to be a hard decision, even for the players as well, because they'll be thinking, right, my dream to play full-time, but what happens if I go out there and I get injured, career-ending injury? I'm done. have to go and find another job again. Because if you leave your job, there's no guarantee you're getting that job back in that trade. And the way it is now, I'm not in Scotland, so I don't have any place to comment how hard or easy it is to find a job now. But, you know, it's weird. Hard decision too. But then if they finish 5th, European football all out.
To be honest, Arbroath's awesome season is a damning indictment of the rest of that championship. Everybody else in that league is full time, yet Arbroath are a game away from winning the league at one stage and nearly do it. Like it's a joke.
Nearly do it. It is. What is it, a joke or is it a testament to the players and the staff of Arbroath?
I mean, it's a bit of both.
Are you a cynic, Mr. Kerr?
I'm a bit, and it's probably coloured by my own team being as poor that are full time. I'm a bit bitter. I'm an Ayr United fan, and we are going into the final game of the season. We need to win to stay up in the championship, which Arbroath are part of. We've been full time for years. They have been part time for forever. Yet they're challenging for the league, and we are circling the drain. So I'm probably the worst person to ask here. I'm bitter. I'm very bitter.
I remember when Ayr went full time. They were in League One, weren't they?
They were, aye.
When they went full time, I remember it was it a casino guy or was it the game?
I think he what is he he owns? I'm trying to think.
You owns some casino or is it a betting firm or something? I think
it's a betting firm, that he owned.
Aye.
But it was a gamble to be talked into, mate. Aye.
I remember that, and I was like, I had high hopes for Ayr at that time. You know, I was like,
me too.
Full time. They'll get into the championship, and then from there, you know, you never know. Anyway, I mean, hopefully Arbroath don't do what Greenup. No, Greenup, Gretna. Remember Gretna?
Well, of course, that was the guy that just stayed retired and had all this millions of pounds and
all the money. Got them all the way up there, and then it was just after that it was gone.
Aye.
Well, anyway, we shall move on. Let's move on to the Formula 1.
Oh yes.
I know, Michael, you were saying you were trying to keep up with it through the weekend there. Obviously seeing some of the race. Paul, did you see all of the race or some of the race?
Well, I watched all of it pretty much. I watched it with you as well, mate. Aye.
Yeah, you watched a fair whack with me. Did you get to see the qualifying plus the sprint qualifying, or?
I saw highlights of both. Highlights of the qualifying.
Similar for myself, man.
I don't know. Right, so I saw highlights of the qualifying, and then I'm not entirely sure if it was the full sprint qualifying or if there was a lap or two that they took out to make it. I'm not sure, is the honest answer.
Right, okay. So you've seen a fair whack at it.
It's near as damn it.
What did you think of the sprint qualifying race?
I thought it was awesome.
It was fun.
Pretty fun. What I seen.
I thought it was fun as well.
Fun.
I don't know, but these Red Bulls. Remember last year when they had near the end of the season when they were taking off like from the standing starts, they were very slow. It was the same thing yesterday. Max Verstappen was like took off really slow. They said something about it's a gear sync or something.
It's to do with the clutch. He's tried to change gear. I think he's tried to go first to second off the lane. It's no quite worked right somehow.
So, see, I wonder if that was what the problem was last year as well. Don't know.
Genuinely don't know.
Ferrari, Charles Leclerc got out in front, and then it was very exciting. And this is why we need sprint qualifying because it was very,
Well,
very.
with the weather conditions through qualifying, initial qualifying stuff, like without sprint qualifying in the weekend there, like that had the potential to be a bit of a dross weekend. I think the sprint qualifying put a bit of life into it. I mean, obviously there's hindsight in the fact that like the qualifying would have been on the Saturday and the weather maybe wouldn't have been quite as bad and yada, but nevertheless, how was it? Five red flags during qualifying?
Something like that, aye.
Oh,
I think that's what it was.
Something crazy like that, aye. Albon didn't even get to set a time because he just. What happened was with him? Oh, his brake caught on fire, didn't it? And then came off. Albon, that's what it was. That was the first one. I can't remember the other ones, but I mean,
You'd Norris going off at the end. Thingy, the Ferrari man.
K-Mag as well went off. I'm sure he spun out in the
K-Mag
qualifying.
went off at one point. Aye.
so did you see the first couple of laps of the race, Michael? No.
Aye, I saw the first. Watched the first 20 odd laps live, and then I just had the audio for a few, and then I watched the back half. Whatever.
Aye. So in the first couple of laps, well, obviously we had the yellow flag with Sainz and Ricardo. Aye. Sainz, oh my God, what a terrible weekend for him.
Having a time yet?
Definitely seems to be having a time here lately, doesn't he?
I know. He's just signed a 2-year deal with Ferrari, and it's just going tits up for him.
I'm surprised there was no stronger words used for Ricardo because I mean racing instinct kinda, but I mean he's moved over when he shouldn't have. He's 10 times out, so I don't know.
Ricardo Sainz, I think in that was that when Mick Schumacher spun off as well.
No, he was just after that.
There was just after that, right?
Him and Alonso.
And Alonso.
And I think Schumacher I don't know if it was a wheel spin or if he'd touched one of the lines in lost traction. I'm not quite sure what happened. He lost control a wee bit and kind of weaved about, touched Alonso, which ultimately cracked his side pod, which then led to the side pod exploding.
Which led to a big massive hole in it. He had to retire. He's not had a good.
He's having a rough time as well.
No, he's having a rough time.
He's been getting a lot of performance out of that motor, but he's not been having good luck with it.
No. Then obviously, like during the race, everybody was like, I think it was like on lap 13 or 14, and everybody's like, right, we might have rain, might not. Like, do you want to come and get the slicks on, or do you want to like? Most people are like, no.
Yep.
Like, don't want to, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know, they were just, and then they were asking, like, if we have a yellow flag, if we have a safety car, like, do you want to come in and do this, or do you want to do that? Yep. And it was interesting to see, like, most of the drivers, like, no, I'm going to stay on the intermediates.
Yep.
And then it was Ricardo, who had nothing to lose, because obviously he was way at the back, was like, right, I'm coming in, put mediums on. But I think that was the team's decision. I think the team
Did you go for hards?
No, it was medium.
Did he go medium first and then change to hards?
So he went mediums first. I think that was he was going to be the tester for Norris, to see if Norris could come in and obviously, you know. But then when all the teams saw the data that he was going like 2 seconds faster than everybody else, they were like, whoa, we need to. I don't think it was quite 2 seconds, but you know, he was going faster. So that's when everybody was just like, right, let's go. Boom, boom, boom.
And also it coincided with them finding out that the pocket of rain they thought they were going to get, it became like a guessing game. It was like, right, in 5 minutes it'll either hit us or it'll just miss us. So then that coinciding with the data for Ricardo having a go in some slicks, they're like, slicks looks like the way to go.
Slicks look the way. And then I think the cloud actually moved away from him, changed direction. So it did. It was a good race. But obviously, when they all pitted, then that's when Ocon came out in front of Hamilton.
Yeah,
nearly hit Hamilton.
Release. Yeah.
I
think there was a wee bit of contact.
I think there actually was, but didn't do any damage.
Aye.
So that's good. Yeah, he actually came out. So it was him. Then it was Albon, Gasly, Hamilton.
It actually had a kind of sizable impact on Hamilton's race. In retrospect, it potentially took away his opportunity for getting in the points. He may have slinked his way into the top 10, maybe. It's hard to say for definite because it's not as if he was like one place away, but he spent a large portion of his race after that chasing the back of Gasly and Albon was in front of him on it.
Albon was in front, but there was a time, I think it was Lance Stroll, that was before all that, and he couldn't get past him. And then
it didn't help that the director was taking their sweet time
with the
DRS. Aye.
But again, when the DRS came in, he couldn't get past anybody.
Initially, I don't know the whole story, but initially it seemed that anytime he had DRS, whoever was in front of him also had
DRS. That's right. Aye. You're right.
If the DRS had come in a few laps before, there's more of a chance that he would have had a cleaner run. Aye. But that is what it is. I mean, he's way back there, like, you know what I mean? He wasn't fighting for a podium or anything like that, so they just had to get to the end of the race and just take what data they can for it so that they can work on improvements.
It's another bad weekend for them in general, though, isn't it?
Aye. I mean, did you see? Sorry, Paul, to cut you off, but did you see Toto's face when Verstappen was lapping Hamilton? Oh my God! It was a picture. He was.
I was audio only at that point.
Happy. He did not look happy at all. I was just like, he. I don't know who's close to him that he takes out his frustration on. Oh my God!
That's the sort of the biggest and best illustration we've had so far in terms of where the Mercedes performance really is at the moment.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
At one point, there was 77 seconds between Hamilton and Verstappen. I think it ended up more than that, but anyway. But we say that, but George Russell was fourth. I don't know what it is.
See, when I was on audio, right, I was on the BBC audio, and one of their commentators or whatever it was, they read out I believe it was a tweet. Somebody was wanting to ask them a question, and like they read it out on air, and then the commentators were talking about it for a minute. And basically, they were asking, "Do you think the fact that Russell has had time in basically NAF cars fighting for every bit of performance he can get out of them, and he's used to being in crap cars and overperforming, getting everything he can out of them to fight with the faster cars. Do you think that gives him an edge over Hamilton because Hamilton is so used to having a fast car? So rather than it being a question of, does Hamilton still have it, or is Russell a better driver than Hamilton it is, or whatever, it's more a case of one of them's used to just having the fast car and running a race for the front, and one of them's used to fighting for everything they can get.
I think there's some definite substance to that. Like he's effectively dragged a Williams round the track sometimes, like to get points out of it. Now he's having to drag this Mercedes into contention a lot of weeks. Like, I mean, if you look at the drivers' championship points, it looks like he's having a decent-ish season. Like, if you didn't know the background to how the car's been getting on, like, you would think,
if you didn't know the teams, you would look at that and think, he's looking pretty good.
He's all right, Whereas, obviously, That's
I mean,
not
if
quite
you
the case.
look at the points, obviously Charles Leclerc is out in 7th, 9th. By the way, he was, when he spun out, like, anyway, that was.
I mean, George Russell.
He was going too hard for it.
He was chasing.
He should just have he was chasing. He should just have conceded and took the points. Like 3rd place, but because of that spin, hit his the front wing had to get changed. He's now ended up in 6th. I mean, it could have been worse. He managed to fight back into 6th place.
Aye.
But he'll learn from that. Well, hopefully. So obviously with Charles Leclerc 79 points, Verstappen 51, George Russell 49, Sergio Perez 48, Sainz on 33, Lando Norris on 31, Lewis Hamilton 7th place 28 points. Has he ever been so far back
No, for a good wee while.
at this stage of the? But aye,
Hamilton.
maybe when he first came in. But,
No, when he first came in, he nearly won it. Remember, Christ,
Aye, probably he's
first season of
somewhere-
a series, possibly.
somewhere around 2010, 2011. Somewhere about there, he had a rough season. But it's been a long ass time.
28. Then Valtteri 6 points behind Lewis on 22, Ocon on 20, Magnussen 14, Sonoda 10, Ricciardo 8, Gasly 6, Vettel's 4, Alonso 2, Zhou Guanyu 1, Albon and Lance Stroll also have 1.
By the way, speaking of people who deserve a bit of attention, Valtteri Bottas, man, lately.
Aye, he's getting a lot.
I want some love for that man.
I was going to say AlphaTauri there, Alfa Romeo. He's should getting a lot out of it.
Who would have predicted that? Like,
So he is.
he's up in the top 10 at least every race, bar Saudi Arabia, where his car lets him down.
Aye. I wouldn't have predicted it, not on his driving capabilities, but because of the capabilities of the car. I thought that he would have been a bit further back. He wouldn't be getting into these positions, but he's fair going for it, making it exciting as well. So
I think he's got like a new lease in life. I think like he's determined to show that he's better than what people think he is as a just a number 2 in a good car. You know what I mean? Like he's what he really wants to show that he is like one of the best drivers, kind of thing.
It goes to show you just how good a team player he was. Like, he was that unassuming with Mercedes. I mean, he's hunting George Russell down at the end of that race, man. Like, hunting him down. I mean, he was less than half a second behind him in the finish. Like, he finishes right behind him. Like,
I mean, folk are too quick to say, "Oh, he's number 2. He's not got this or that." I think what Valtteri Bottas was doing was biding his time until Lewis Hamilton retired, and then he was taking that seat in a good car, and so he was just being a good number 2, proving that he was, a Mercedes man, team player. And then unfortunately for him, they've went another direction in George Russell because they see this young whippersnapper who can push the limits of the car, I mean, just look what he did 2 seasons ago when Hamilton had COVID. Jumped in a motor that was for him and nearly won the race. Only reason why he didn't was just, what was it, his tyre blew out.
Aye,
mate.
But still, like, aye. And then again, unfortunately, some of the better teams, or what we thought would be better teams, had drivers already. So he's went with the next best thing in Alfa Romeo, which I didn't think would be able to perform like how it is. And now he's proven to people that, look, I'm a good driver, I'm better than what you think. And if I had a fast car, I'd be at the top, challenging still.
Yep.
So, I mean, kudos to him, good on him.
Absolutely,
Love to see
mate.
it.
Aye, absolutely.
Aye. No, sorry, I just want to circle back to the sprint qualifying. What did you think of Haas going in the mediums when everybody else went in the softs for the sprint qualifying?
I don't know or understand any decision making there.
Well, what's the tyre life for a soft tyre? What is the tyre life? How long do they last? That would be my first question with regards to
The
degradation.
entirety of the sprint qualifying.
21 laps at least.
Are they perhaps gambling that teams are going to have tyres degrading before the end of the 21 laps is up?
So that would be the only logical thing that I can think of, is them thinking, right, the mediums were a bit slower on them. If we can hold the positions, and at the end of the race we can really push, because everybody else will be degraded to a certain degree, and we'll have fresher tyres, because obviously it's a harder compound. That's the only logical thing I can think of. But
So the Haas apparently struggled with tyre temperature and something else.
right,
So
that would make more
I
sense.
think they may have thought that they would degrade the softs too quick because they didn't have the necessary temperature. So they felt like the safer option was the mediums, and probably hoped that other people would have degradation and they'd be able to pick some folk off towards the end. I'm assuming that was the logic, because it's
Of
about
course.
the only logic I can put to the...
Mariah,
That's what I'm saying. That's what-
what I'm trying to get is there was a safety car kind of incident, obviously, in the sprint, which you're going slower, like, during the set. So degradation obviously isn't the same as it would be if you're running flat out for the 21 laps. That's what I'm trying. I'm essentially standing for Haas here, lads, and try to defend Sir Gunter.
Overall, another cracking performance for Haas. They had a
mean, really,
successful
aye.
weekend
It was, aye.
in the grand scheme of things. But
It would
they've
have been a
shown again consistently that tactics aren't at the top of their list in terms of what they're sorting out for their race weekends.
Yep.
I think they're still in a position where they're happy to be there a wee bit.
Aye, I would say so.
They're used to being nowhere near this, so decision making maybe isn't what it should be, but there's going to come a stage where you think, right, come on now, you've got a car good enough, so why not? Stop just being happy to be there. I mean, for me, with the medium selection, that is them having a crack at it, because they're rolling the dice and thinking degradation in other cars. We'll have a cracking couple of last laps and really try to eat into this, as long as we get a wee bit of luck and hold on. But then the safety car kind of fucks that plan completely. Like, it's a very specific scenario they're hoping for, but
Aye, it's as good as the decision making for a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to remember what driver it was. Was it Albon? I think it was Albon.
oh, the tyre
Who
was
was
burning.
Hards.
out until nearly the end of the race without coming in because they were hoping for a safety car.
Aye.
Aye. Like,
That's no tactics. That's just a wish, like a hope and a prayer, or whatever the saying is.
I was going to say a prayer in the whim or something like that. Or a hope. What is it? I wish it, I don't know.
Living on a prayer.
Aye.
Bon Jovi.
I don't know who's making those tactical decisions, but let's hope that as the season goes on, they get a bit better. Sorry, go ahead.
The crux of it is, if they had better tactics and decision making, they could be doing better. If they capitalise in certain situations, they could be doing better. They're overperforming as it is, but they could sort of reach even higher with the right things in place.
Yep. Aye. And then if a bit of luck goes their way as well, obviously today Mick Schumacher's a bit unlucky. Gets spun out and then he spins himself out.
He spun twice, didn't he?
That's right.
Spent himself. I mean, not that it made any difference because he was so far back anyway, because of what happened. But I mean, it was his highest ever starting position today as well, and then ended up.
K-Mag get their best finish in qualifying as well.
I mean, by all metrics, it's a good weekend. They've scored in the two races and they've had one of their best qualifying sessions.
Yep.
Like, it's funny. Shows you how mad it is this year. Like, there doesn't really seem to be a midfield. It just seems like everybody is having their turn.
Aye, there's top two teams, and then everybody else could place somewhere in the race.
I mean, obviously, Aston Martin had their really crap start, but then obviously they've had a much better weekend this weekend again.
And a Ferrari as well. Ferrari they started amazing, and then looks like Red Bull is edging in front of them.
Well,
Just based off of performances, but obviously Leclerc, going too hard for it today. Then there was a Sainz crashing out, like unlucky. But I think Red Bull are just edging in front of them now, performance wise. Michael, what were you going to say there? I heard a
it's like Red Bull seem like the more sort of well balanced team, and other than obviously their issues with reliability. That's what I'm looking for, not dependency. Reliability. They're performing better as a unit and overall. Whereas Ferrari have a phenomenal car, but the team's not quite operating as well as it could. So Leclerc's consistently performing and qualifying, and he's doing what he can in the race, but the team's arguably letting him down. And obviously, just when you say why can I never remember his name? Sainz is he's having a horrendous run of luck, apart from anything else. So I think that we're probably going to see some. I mean, I think I said this before actually a couple of weeks ago. Last season we had Red Bulls being phenomenal in terms of their qualifying and stuff like that, but at times Mercedes just doing that bit better in a race. No, sorry, going the wrong way. I'm confused. I confused myself. Basically, anyway, you've got one team good in the race, one team good in qualifying. It's a similar thing.
I think at the start, Mercedes were out qualifying Red Bull, but Red Bull were getting the tactics spot on during the races. But just when you're saying there, last thing before we go, by Leclerc's team letting him down, actually, it just popped into my head when you said that there, that's right. One of the pit stops, when they came in, it was a 3.7 second pit stop. Perez, who was in front of him, came in. It was a 2.3 second pit stop, and then he's a full second and a half behind him, basically. That's a lot of time in Formula One.
True that.
Anyway, so not next week, 2 weeks from now, it's Miami. So that shall be fun. Looking forward to that one. Just moving on to mixed monologue. Have you pooed up something? No?
I don't necessarily have a monologue. I've been extraordinarily busy this week, and I haven't given it much thought. However, I do have a limerick.
How's that?
Just for a wee random thing, right?
Nice place in Ireland.
There was a what do you call it? A subreddit on Reddit that I was reading through the other day, and I just noticed I left the tab open. It's full of jokes. So there's this limerick that I found quite funny. So I shall read it out. And it depending on your age and location and religion and whatever else, it may or may not be appropriate. So if you're worried, cover your ears. There was a young plumber from Lee who was plumbing a girl by the sea. Said the girl, "Stop your plumbing, there is somebody coming." Said the plumber, still plumbing, "It is me."
Yes. Like it.
Beautiful.
I've got a joke, but I'm going to tell it once the podcast finishes.
Tell it now.
No, it's Too hot for pod. Too hot for pod. Can't do it.
All right. On that note, there, we shall love yous and leave yous. Well, we would really like it if y'all could share us with a friend, family member, anybody. That would be fantastic. And, well, I'll see yous all later.
Bye-bye.
Tatty, bye, driver.
Bye, driver.
Farewell.
You have now reached your destination.